William S. Burroughs remix that they used to play, and great song. But Saturday night, we're back at 10 o'clock for 2 hours to midnight. My brother texted me yesterday. He's like, hey, where can I hear it? I go, you got to listen live.
Sorry, boo.
Because I can't podcast it. I'm sure he will, though. I said, remember, you're on Central Time, and I'm on Eastern Time. So it'll be, I told him it'll be 9 o'clock his time. But 10 to midnight, with me and Corey Roddick and Pat Butler. And every Saturday, ball games notwithstanding. It's 2 hours of stuff that we dig, things that you guys request, playing some local music week to week. I have a ton of bands who have submitted their music, and if I like it, I'll play it. It's that simple. There have been some bands that have sent me stuff, and I've been like, but I'm more than happy to spotlight some local bands. So we'll do that again on Saturday night. Who are the local bands that may be playing Saturday night? Dreamwalker and a band called A Sense of Purpose. Be a couple of the local bands. And then other than that, you can always submit your band, or you can just send a request or whatever to htm@wmms.com and then post the playlists for you from week to week too. But that'll be Saturday night back here on MMS. They have announced that they're going to be sending the first astronauts back to the moon in about half a century, which is exciting news, I guess, for a lot of people who...
Oh, another remake.
Ugh, no original ideas anymore.
People who are wondering why we weren't going back to the moon. I've been one of those people. I'm like, why the hell are we not going back to the moon?
Because Stanley Kubrick did a good job the first time he filmed it. So why would you do it again? But I guess who'd they get to do this one? Michael Bay?
You're suggesting that you're taking the Capricorn 1 approach.
Yes.
With O.J. Simpson, part of the faked moon landing with Jimmy Brolin. Who was the third guy in Capricorn? Oh, it was Sam Waterston, wasn't it? Capricorn 1, I remember in the early days of HBO, where they were showing the same movies over and over again, because they didn't have a massive library. There was a movie in the late 70s called Capricorn 1, and it was about these guys who are going to do the first mission to Mars. But then there's a mechanical failure that would have killed them. So they remove them from the capsule, but NASA launches the capsule without them in it and has to pretend like they did it. So they sequester the guys in a studio and make them fake this Mars landing. And then these guys, it's one of those kind of there were a lot of 70s paranoia movies. The sci-fi movies and things like that are always very much of the time. So whatever's happening kind of in the culture at that time. And in the 70s, it was after Watergate. So there was a lot of don't trust anybody, a lot of paranoia kind of films. So there were like spy movies like The Parallax View and 3 Days of the Condor and all those kind of things. And Capricorn 1 was on HBO all the time. And I loved that movie. It was O.J. Simpson. Elliot Gould was in it. It was Jimmy Brolin, Sam Waterston, and the Juice were the three guys that were going to be on Capricorn 1. And then somebody discovers the conspiracy, and then they have to track these guys down. It's a whole thing. If you've never seen Capricorn 1...
I've not.
I've never even heard of it.
It's a wild movie. Love it. 1978.
But many people think that Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing. It was all faked. And that's
many people think that?
Dozens.
Yeah.
Dozens
At least 7
hundreds.
or 8 dozens.
So the mission is called Artemis 2. NASA has announced the astronauts who will...
They need a better name. Artemis 2 sucks. That's not going to get anybody excited.
What should it be?
I don't know. Something better than Artemis.
Artemis makes me think of the girl from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and she would open a conversation by telling people that she just had her butthole bleached. So I like that a lot.
When
I like that a lot.
Bring up that Artemis.
Well, that's the one I'm thinking of.
All right. But still doesn't really have a lot to do with space travel.
The getting your butthole bleached?
Yeah.
Artemis was the goddess of the moon.
Yeah. That's nerd stuff.
Yeah, but that's why it's called that.
Right.
You don't remember your
But
Greek
aren't they-
mythology?
No, I don't.
No one does.
Well, I was a mythology nerd when I was a kid. Artemis was
again,
the
so
goddess of
that's-
the moon.
That's why you're into this, because you were into the nerd stuff. I would like it
Hey,
to...
spoiler alert, NASA is all nerds.
Right,
Oh,
but
That's
no,
why they
no.
call it this.
But they should have a marketing department that is like, okay, how can we get people excited about this? Calling it Artemis 2 isn't going to get it going.
Should they call it Spacey McSpaceship? Is that what they should call it?
It would get more attention.
NASA announces the astronauts.
Mooney McMoon landing?
There you go. Well, here's the thing, though. They're not going to land on the moon. They're going to be the first humans to fly by the moon in 50 years.
This isn't even
This is
anything.
stupid.
That's
This is
what-
nothing.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not quite sure.
It's not a moon mission if you don't land on the moon. Oh, I'm very annoyed by this.
I don't know. I think that this is in. Well, all of these promises, Elon Musk every 5 minutes is like, we're going to be on Mars next week. And he's just a bull shrimp artist from tip to taint. So nobody listens to what he's saying about that stuff. But I think NASA, which is a massive jobs program for aerospace engineers, wants to keep the public somewhat involved with these kinds of things.
Then land on the moon.
They will launch on a critical test flight next year to slingshot around the moon, setting the stage. So this is like a test run because they do plan to land on the moon again.
Why do we have to do a test run on something we've done?
Because they haven't done, but they haven't
in
done
the
it. But they haven't done
60s
it in
and 70s.
They
Come
haven't
on.
done it in 50 years. They've got all new equipment and they've
Like
got
riding
new
a bike.
technology.
No. They could do it. Just send them up there.
Do it without
Send up a monkey. Has anybody ever done that?
It's more exciting if they don't do the test run and they just go land, because then we don't know.
Flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah. Then it's like,
Well, they're not trying to kill the astronauts.
I don't want them to die. I just want there to be suspense. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Failing to plan, Bill, is planning to fail. Here's the announcement there. Whoop, hold on. That's not what I want.
Hell yeah. Rock on.
What up?
nerds.
It's NASA.
Hey, you coming to the moon landing?
and Canadian Jeremy Hansen. All of them accomplished NASA veterans.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's a Canadian. The first, can you believe it's the first Canadian? Like, I don't know what Canada's space program is, but this guy, it's a big deal for that country because Jeremy Hansen is the first Canadian to orbit the moon on this mission. MOON, that spells Canada. He is a 47-year-old Canadian astronaut. If you've never even...
He looks like just like the other.
But if you've never even orbited the moon, what do Canadian astronauts do?
Dude, beats me.
Well, nobody's orbited the moon in a while. That's the whole point of this.
No, but countries have been doing that for a long time. Why has Canada?
No one's gone out to the moon. They've been orbiting the Earth for a while, but nobody's gone out to the moon.
We have. Russia has.
When's the last time we went out to the moon?
A long time ago.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is Canada has been a country with a space program longer than 50 years. All kinds of countries have sent people up. Why hasn't Canada ever done that? I'm just surprised that in 2023,
apparently
this
it's-
guy is the first Canadian to orbit the moon.
Apparently, it's so hard that you have to do a test run before you even land on it.
Is there any way you can? Do they bring back like buckets and buckets of moon rocks? Like, can we get some moon rocks? Legit moon rocks?
I mean, the guys that landed on the moon did. You've never seen moon rocks at a museum?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, well, they have. There's plenty of
What museum would you go to see that?
natural history. I don't know, aerospace museum
You
or
probably
something.
see them at
Great Lakes Science Center?
Science Center.
Probably,
You
yeah.
can probably go to NASA. They have like a little museum at the John Glenn Center over here.
Do you still work there?
No, I don't. I just shop there.
I know someone who might work there. See if I can get a tour.
It's just open to the public, man. You just go in.
Oh, good.
I want the behind the scenes stuff.
He's like, I bet I know somebody. It's open to the public. I don't think you have to know anybody.
I mean, at least it was when I was in Cub Scouts. I haven't been there since then.
No, I think it just I think it did just they made
Reopen?
Yeah, reopened.
This guy was one of 4 Canadian astronauts who was vying for a seat on this mission, and he beat the other 3. 4 astronauts on Artemis 2, Christina Koch, Victor Glover, Reed Wiseman, and this Canadian guy, Jeremy Hansen. And the girl is going to, what do they say about the woman? She's going to be the first, She'll be the first woman to travel to the moon. Again, I'm constantly amazed at the firsts that are still going on.
Well, because it's been a very long time since anyone's gone to the moon, and I don't think we were.
I know, but
sending
even back
ladies
then,
into space
we weren't
back
sending
then.
ladies into space back then?
Not when they were doing moon missions.
I guess not. It was all guys in the history books, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really don't remember a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. For me, I learned that if
Did she say didn't?
Doesn't matter.
Man, if you're an astronaut, that makes me nervous. I guess you just have to be good at the science, not the grammar.
I mean, Homer's been to space, so it's not like.
The cartoon character
Yes. It was one of the best
is
episodes
eating them chips.
where they were so worried about all the space shuttle launches having bad ratings that they brought in Homer to send a regular Joe to space to get people interested again. And they have all those machines that are, in computers and stuff like that. And they're like, what are these things do? Like, these just are used for measuring TV ratings.
He breaks the ant colony out, the
Yeah.
whole thing. So you want them to do more of a Simpsons thing. You want them to
Of
put a
course,
regular
yeah.
Joe up there.
And then it doesn't have to be a regular Joe, but I would like them to actually go to the moon, not just fly around it.
Well, this is in preparation for the next lunar landing,
But when is that going to be?
probably 2028. This one's going to take off of November of next year.
remember a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. For me, I learned that if I was going to be an astronaut, it was because my passions turned me into someone that could contribute the most as someone contributing to human spaceflight. So I didn't necessarily live my life according to checkboxes of how you can become an astronaut, but I followed those passions and one year looked at who I had become and the skills I had gathered, and I asked, could I sit across from a table and present myself as someone who could do this well? And I thought, I'm going to give it a shot.
Well, good for her. She is a mission specialist. Reed Wiseman is a captain in the U.S. Navy. Victor Glover is also from the Navy. He's going to be the pilot. And the Canadian guy is a specialist in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And these are the four who've been chosen to go up there. The first humans to fly in the vicinity of the moon in over 50 years. They'll also be the first to launch aboard NASA's next-gen mega rocket and Orion space capsule. So this is basically them testing the craft before coming back to Earth. And then the next flight, the Artemis 3, will touch down on the moon, which will include the first woman and the first person of color to step foot on the lunar surface. Because Victor Glover's a black guy. So they'll go, one small step for man, one giant leap for black guys, or whatever he'll say. I don't know what he'll say.
Nah, so when, yeah.
They should get something.
What was that? The Lion King is what he's going to...
that's what that was.
Wow, all right.
They should send a married interracial couple to space so that they can have sex on the moon.
Yeah.
So that way they can have a woman on the moon for the first time, a black guy on the moon for the first time, and then they get an actual first of being the first people to bang on the moon.
Well, I was going to say...
not in the craft. You want them to bang on the moon.
On the moon, yeah.
How would they do? They couldn't do it out in the open atmosphere.
I don't work for NASA, man.
They would have to do it in the pressurized environment of the craft. In which case,
no. They design a suit that is for two people. That
they'd have to
can
both
bang
be in the same suit.
Yeah.
What?
Do you know how sex works?
They're gonna both be in the same suit.
It's gonna be built for two.
But
It's
it's
like
gonna
a sleeping bag.
But how are they gonna be mobile on the surface of the moon?
They're gonna have the other astronauts
Jesus.
dragging them around.
Oh, I see.
Put 'em in
I
a
see.
cart.
How's it so hard to think of these solutions? I'm thinking of them like this, like right off the top
You
of
sure
my head.
are. You sure are. With all of the requisite specs and everything involved.
I mean, being the first person on the moon's cool. Being the first person that had sex on the moon is the coolest.
What is it?
We don't know that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin didn't do anything, though.
But
We don't know.
They didn't
They had
hand
their
stuff
own-
above the pants.
They had
have-
their own suits, though.
Yeah. They didn't have a
They didn't
sex
have
suit.
the dual suit.
I mean, for whatever reason, it's always been strange to me that space exploration of this kind or any kind is always to further mankind's abilities, but they never want to talk about perpetuation of the species. They'll be up there growing goddamn soybeans before they ever publicly admit that, of course, astronauts have banged in space.
Or tossed off
Of
or something.
course they have, right. I don't know
And that's-
why they're so reticent to have those conversations.
And what moves technology forward faster than anything?
Pornography.
Sex. Pornography. So if we have a sexy couple on the moon banging it out, it's going to make a lot of money. It's going to create interest. It's just a win-win.
The astronaut formerly known as the Moon Poon is signing her books
If someone
at Crocs and Brentano's today at 4 o'clock.
if someone has a child in space, is that a legal alien?
But it's not an alien. It's still human.
It's an extraterrestrial. It was born out in space.
Yes.
You're born in space. You're not.
Is that under jurisdiction of
You
America?
got dual
Of
citizenship.
Space Force. You have galactic citizenship and, yeah, you're a citizen of outside the whole Earth. Hey, Patrick,
Yes.
what's going
I
on?
just wanted two things. Stanley Kubrick is the conspiracy theorists have spoken about this since the landing. That was right about the time he was making 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
And in The Shining, there's lots of clues that lead to letting it be known that he did direct the landing. So, but I just wanted to bring it up. They have documentation.
Well, they're not really
conspiracy
clues.
stuff.
I mean, clues would imply that that's an actual true story. I mean, people
I
read
know,
into
but
things
but
all
if
the
you
time.
If you watch The Shining, there are lots of bits that kind of lead to the fact lead you to believe that he did do the directing of that.
Oh, really?
That's regardless. Yeah,
I've seen The Shining 100 times, and nothing's ever led me to believe that, but I'll watch it again.
The
and maybe
lady in the
you're right.
bathtub is actually from the moon.
Maybe
so,
I'll find
boom.
something. It's man in the moon,
Well, no,
Alan,
no,
not the
it's-
woman in the moon, somebody said.
Yeah. Well, with the little boy, he wore a NASA shirt, a
Yeah.
sweater, and the direction of the hotel.
Oh, God.
It's really, I haven't seen it forever, but I just remember there was whatever.
Mhm.
But that doesn't matter. I wanted to talk. You were talking about sex
There's a
on the
NASA
moon. I
shirt
was going
right
to
across
talk
the
about.
street.
Say again?
Go ahead.
I was sorry. You were talking about sex on the moon, and I was going to talk about when Mary hooked up with me on Tinder,
What?
and she said that I was 5'5", and I put on my thing that I was 5'11".
That's not you.
I was 5'11" when I had my work boots on. So it gives me like 4 extra inches.
I was going to say, 5'5" to 5'11" is 6 inches, I believe. You have 6-inch
Well, I
work
know
boots?
that, but I was standing on my toes. Too,
I
so.
see. Well, Mary's very tall. Okay, thank you. There's Patrick there in Paynesville. All right, well, very exciting. In Canada, is it NASA instead of NASA? I get it. Let me take a break here. I will have those Guardians